Hello and welcome to Greetingstar. I'm so glad you could join me today. Here's a look at the card that I'll be making for you today, and I'm using some dies from Spellbinders. This is a new release. It's called Stitched Alphabet. You can buy these as an entire set, the whole alphabet, or you can buy individual letters. So if you didn't want the entire alphabet, you could just buy letters for, like, say, somebody's name or a word. So with each letter, you get a background die and the letter die. And on the letter die, you can see there's a beautiful little pattern there. It looks like a flower. And what it is it creates those little holes so that you can actually stitch those letters. So like you can see right here, the stitching. I use some embossing floss to do that with. Now for the card today, I'm going to be using some paper, some blue paper and some yellow paper. It's kind of like a cream color, but it's a little more yellow than a plain cream. And I got it from this pack of paper that I've had forever. It's called Coordinations or Coordinations, and that is, I think, by Doris, and this is the All-American pack. I don't think you can find this anymore, but what's nice is that you get sort of a pack of paper that gives you kind of a color scheme that you can use, which is kind of nice, and I like that blue and yellow together. I think it's really nice. And then for the card base, I'm using Nina Solar White 110 pound. Now this is just some like embossing floss that I had, and this is an embossing needle, so it's blunt at the end so it won't poke you, and then there's a big eye that you can thread that through. And I will show you in a little bit later how I do that process. But then I'm also going to be using some other supplies to make this card. This is the Spellbinders Sentiments for You. And I'm going to be using this stamp, but I'm going to not stamp the hello because the hello obviously is going to be cut out with the die. So this is the STP-079 Sentiments for You. It comes with lots of great sentiments that you could use for lots of cards. And then I'm going to use this die from the September card kit of the month from last year, and I'm just going to cut out the handheld receiver portion of the die. I'm not going to cut out the whole telephone, so just the little handheld piece and then the wire that goes along with it. And then also there are some little details that you can add to the end of the phone with those two pieces there. And I'm going to cut that out of gold cardstock, that strip of gold cardstock you saw just a moment ago. So you can see in this picture there, that's what that will look like, except I'm going to cut it out of blue. So this gold cardstock came in that card kit of the month, but you can also buy it from scrapbook.com. So I'm just going to use my Platinum 6 die cutting machine, the Spellbinders machine, to cut out the background for these letters. I'm not going to cut it out of the blue just yet because I'm not going to use it for the card we're making today. Of course, I will show you later that you could switch this around if you didn't want blue as the background. You could use yellow as the background, so it's entirely up to you how you choose to lay out those colors and the design for your own card that you make. So I'm rolling this through my die cutting machine, and I'm going to use that tape there just to hold everything down in place. It's not really necessary if you're not trying to create a card with these you know, in the background, but I'm just going to use them, the individual cutouts, on another piece of cardstock. So the lineup isn't really important. I'm just trying to hold them in place so they don't move all over. Now, one of the tips I will give you with these letter dies, they're kind of intricate, and so if you flip it over so that the cutting edge of the die is face up, then when you remove those pieces, you can see there that I didn't have to spend forever poking out all those little pieces. They just fall out naturally, which is really nice. So whenever you want to cut with your die cutting machine, I think that they do recommend actually that you cut with the and I didn't do it there. I made the mistake, but it came out good anyway. You turn it over so that it's face up, and then all those little pieces come out so much easier. They pretty much just fall out. So down below there you can see that you have a choice of doing it with a background of yellow instead of a background of blue, but I wanted the background of blue. It's darker, so it creates more of the shadow looking effect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this yellow floss to kind of embroider or stitch these letters, and since it's pretty thick, I'm going to separate it. There's, I think, 6 strands here, so I'm just going to separate it 3 to 3, And once I've got the 3 in each finger, I'll just gently pull. And you want to be gentle. If you go too fast, it'll knot up. But if that does happen to you, I just grabbed that main strand actually with my mouth. You can't see it, but I did. I put it in my mouth to pull it taut, and then that way it comes right out. It's really easy. So that's the way I did that. And here it is. You can't see it. It's in my mouth, but I'm just pulling it apart, and it's unraveling very easily. And then I've got 2 strands. Now this should do about 4 of those little circles. So like on the L and then on the H there, the 4 that are on the right. So you should be able to do 4 of them before you need to rethread your needle. So what I'm doing here is I'm just putting it through the eye of the needle and leaving a little bit to hang over the edge. And I don't need to put a knot in it. I'm just going to bring it up through the center. And then when I pull it all the way through, you'll see that I'm just going to leave a little bit and hold that with my finger on the back. So you can see there just a little bit so that it extends down into the other little area there, the second little flower. And then I'm going to go out to the outside circle. Then I'm going to come back up through the inner circle and then go to the next outside circle. And I'll just do that repeatedly until the whole thing's filled in. So it's pretty easy. You know, if you've never stitched or sewn before, this is very simple. So you can do this regardless of whether you have experience sewing or not. I don't like to sew, so I don't sew at all. But, you know, these are so pretty and it's so easy. Anybody can do this. So don't let that stop you from getting these dies. Now, what I'm going to do here is, since that string is left there, I'm just going to overlay it with that one so that when it goes through the next hole there, it'll kind of hold that piece down for me so it won't come unraveled. Of course, you can tape it on the back if you want, but you'll see right here what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my needle through one of those little stitches and then tie it off by running it through that hoop there, and that'll give me a little knots to keep everything in place. But you're going to glue it down as well, so you know, you can either, if you really want to, you can tape it, or you can just add a little bead of glue right there in the center of the flower, and that'll help hold it as well. Alrighty, so then you can cut it off if you want. If, like, let's say you want to change the color of the floss if you're doing multiple colors. Otherwise, you don't even have to cut it until you get down to the bottom. So that's what I want to show you here. So I just am speeding up really fast so that you can kind of see I go through every single one all the way down to the bottom before I tie it off and cut it. So that's certainly something else you can do that will save you time and effort. So that's another thing to remember. Now, in addition, if you really hate sewing or stitching, then you don't even have to stitch them. You could just put them on your background paper and then let that pretty color shine through those holes. So it's not necessary. You don't have to do this. I think it does make it look a little more ornate. You know, it really does lend itself to like creating really special little kind of ornament or trinket for somebody, or something that has their name on it, personalized. So that's kind of neat too. And you can even use cloth if you want to die cut some cloth out. You don't have to cut it out of paper, but I'm a card maker, so that's why I'm making a card with these dies. So I'm going to use the yellow cardstock as a background, and this is kind of a non-standard slimline card. It's 8 1/4 inches by 4 and about 1/16 of an inch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim down my paper to 8 inches by 3 1/4, and then that'll give me 1/4 of an inch all the way around. So you'll see that little white border of the card base peeking out around the edges. And I'm just going to go ahead and adhere that to my card base. And then once I'm done with that, I can attach those letters. Now what's great about this is you can use any color combinations that you want. I've seen some people put that gold cardstock behind as a background, and that looks really elegant and beautiful. So these, you know, these cards can be, I mean, you can make them look sort of like countrified, or, you know, really sort of crafty and folksy, or you can go the opposite way and go complete elegant. So it's entirely up to you how you choose to do this. But I thought it would be so cute to have that little handheld receiver at the top. And then I'm going to use this sentiment here that says, a big hello from me to you, but I'm not going to stamp the hello. I'm only going to stamp a big at the top and from me to you at the bottom. So here I go. I'm going to add those beautiful little golden details to my handheld receiver here. And I'm just using some Tombow mono glue to do that. This was a fun project, you guys. I really enjoyed doing it. And like I said, I am not a sewer. I really hate sewing, but this was kind of fun. And it's actually very relaxing. So I'm just going to put my card base in here and lay everything out so I know where to stamp. And then once I know where I'm going to stamp it, I'm going to move my letters out of the way. And now here's where I have to be careful. I'm going to use some of that tape here to cover up the part that I don't want to ink up, because I just want the words that say A big. So once I've got that done, I'll remove that tape and then stamp it on my paper. And then I'm going to lay out my letters once more just so that I know where to stamp again. Now you can't see at the bottom here, I'm aligning that stamp. And then again, I'll use some tape to cover up what I don't want to ink. And I'm just using, this is some Memento Dewdrop ink in Tuxedo Black, by the way. And again, I'm just going to ink that up. I think I can do it without the tape this time. Part of the F on the from didn't quite get stamped, so I needed to do it again. So there we go. Now all I have to do is lay all the letters down and glue them down, and I will have a card. I do decide to add some embellishments at the end with some flowers. And you'll see in a moment once I'm done gluing everything down. The flowers came from another card kit of the month. It's called Sincerely Yours. Off the top of my head, I think it was April of 21, but I'm not sure. Everything will be linked down below in the description. But yeah, those dies come in the card kit for the flowers that I'm going to have. But you can use any flowers that you want. Like, let's say, you know, you have some stamps that are floral. You can certainly use that as well. You don't have to do dies, but I think it made it look kind of neat and pretty. And then I'm just using an acrylic block to kind of hold those letters in place. Such a pretty little card. I love it. So much fun. I hope you enjoyed the video, and leave me a comment if you guys have any ideas about how to use these. I will have a card coming up later that uses these dies in an unintended way, like in a different way than what they were made to be used for. But I like to do that. I like to take my dies and use them in different ways. So here's the flowers that I was talking about from the card kit of the month from April of 21, called Sincerely Yours. Again, I think it was April. I'm not positive. But anyway, I decided to use some blue and gold just to kind of, you know, echo that color scheme on my card. So I'm just going to lay them one on top of the other. But the gold one, I'm going to turn it so that you can see those blue petals sticking out behind. So again, just using Tombow mono to lay those down. And I think that this is a sweet little card that anyone would love to get. And then for the center, I'm using those center pieces that were cut. Also, that die for the center comes in that same card kit of the month. So there's a look at the finished card, guys. Please leave me a comment down below telling me what you liked about this card. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. I'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.